Welcome back into the GSMC Sports Podcast for our final segment of the day, where we are going to be discussing what the rest of the future, or what the rest of the season specifically, should look like for the Pittsburgh Pirates as they are continuing to drop further and further out of postseason contention. They are currently 8 games behind for what the last wild card spot. Does not seem likely. They've really been struggling post All-Star break, and I think that ultimately the Pirates, yet again, seems like they've had this sort of trajectory for a couple seasons now, but I'll defend them, especially considering this year, again, more of an actual vision as to what they're going to be, surrounded by their pitching staff. Jared Jones dealing with an injury as well definitely derailed them some, and they were relying on a number of young pitchers in Paul Skenes, Mitch Keller, and Jared Jones, all of them to sort of take the reins and become the ace. Each one of them, though, very young and have not done this for extended periods of time, really, to the point where, again, you see injuries start to pop up and they end up, sort of falling out of this race to the point where I think that the Pirates should very much consider sitting Paul Skenes for the remainder of the season. Skenes is scheduled to pitch tomorrow, so not saying this is an immediate action thing, and honestly, letting him continue to go out there a little bit longer is not a bad thing by any means. I mean, he's at 98 innings pitched this season, which obviously isn't a little bit, but it's not a tremendous amount of workload that you don't feel like you can overcome from. But we've seen the velocity take a significant tick down for Paul Skenes in his recent outings. He hasn't been the same version of himself that we were seeing for so long with him. Now, again, a bad Paul Skenes start probably looks like what you got against the Dodgers the other, this was August 10th, so just a little bit over a week or so ago, where 4 hits, 1 walk is surprising. The walks are some of the most outstanding numbers out of his recent starts, where most recently against Seattle he had 4 walks, which I believe is a season high for him. But 4 walks, 1 walk in that Dodgers game, then you have another 3 in each of his 2 starts before that. It's not what Paul Skenes does, and I think it's partially at least because of the fact that he doesn't have the same zip on the ball quite as much, that he's having to get a little bit more creative with his plate approaches in terms of, how he's going to attack hitters with off-speed stuff and with control, and he just doesn't have the same threat of just absolutely blowing it by you, throwing 101, 102 past. So the downtick in velocity is one of the things that I'm definitely most concerned about. Now, again, the results aren't that bad. Like I mentioned, that Dodgers start ends up allowing 4 earned runs in 6 innings. It's probably one of his worst starts all season, and yet you still get 6 innings, you still get 8 strikeouts, and overall the offensive production. That's the other thing too, is I feel like in a number of his recent starts, he's just not really been getting the help on the offensive side of the ball quite as much either. And the Pirates are just struggling, like I was talking about as well. So it's something to sort of consider as well. It's not like Paul Skenes, he's trying to go out there and pitch you to wins every single game, but when he's deteriorating a little bit, they were able to. They're still 7-2, or at least he is 7-2. I don't have the exact starts as to what the Pirates' overall record is within his 16 games, but I know one of them includes the game where he was pulled out of the no-hitter try in the 8th inning, right before the All-Star break. So that obviously, I just feel like at this point with Skenes, you kind of have to consider where you're at as an organization. I honestly don't hate, again, getting him a couple more looks out there, but at this point, what are you really benefiting from if you are Paul Skenes and the Pirates to continue to throw him out there? You're selling tickets, you're getting views, sure, so maybe from the business perspective there, but the better business perspective is, how do we protect this long-term asset now? and it's don't make him throw unnecessary innings. The Pirates aren't going anywhere moving forward here. I think it's a very real possibility that tomorrow could be Skenes' final start of his 2024 campaign, which would be a little bit disappointing considering the trajectory we seem to be on when he first appeared, but that's the way this goes, especially, in the modern day. Again, that maybe some older baseball fans are saying, well, I'm not gonna attack a whole age group here, but just specifically thinking about my dad, he would say, oh, well, back in the old days, pitchers used to go 8 innings every 3 days, and that's not what it is anymore. That's not how we go about this, especially as we try so hard as a baseball community to sort of reinforce the idea of stuff and velocity and speed and all of that takes a toll on the body. And if you're the Pirates, the worst thing that can possibly... The best case is that Paul Skenes looks really good for a team that's going to miss the playoffs. The worst case is he does some serious long-term damage to his arm, which would be a disaster. And I don't know. I just feel like at this point, there's really not all that much to benefit from. I understand Skenes just getting his arm almost used to it, because I know as a Red Sox fan, constantly monitoring, at least for my own, team, that monitoring, all right, well, Tanner Houck has been at a career high in innings pitched since the All-Star break, and he has, even though lately playing a little bit better, tangent there that I don't want to get on, but, for a while, he was really struggling. Cutter Crawford, you can say the same thing. As I'm sort of sticking with the Red Sox here, last night they played the Astros. Ronel Blanco, who's been one of the best pitchers in the American League this season, he's had 2 straight really bad outings for facing the Red Sox, and he didn't even make it through the 4th inning last night. So, having that benchmark of pushing it a little bit further down the line, I can understand that. I don't know if that's the most intelligent way to go about managing how many innings you are giving your aces, but it's at least, I don't know, maybe some way to look at it. But Paul Skenes, I think that also another thing that sort of caught my eye is I think that Vegas is sort of catching wind of the idea that Skenes might not finish out the season, because it also helps that Skenes, again, numbers dropping a little bit, but he still has a 2.3 ERA. His whip is still sub 1, so it's not like, it's not like the numbers are bad. He is still, if you take those numbers for an entire season, you're talking Cy Young contention, which is where we all sort of expect Paul Skenes to be within the next couple years. But I think that, also just generally speaking here, when you're talking about... If you're talking about specifically sort of how this plays out for Skenes from here and whether or not he would be capable of finishing out the season, seems less likely. And DraftKings, I looked earlier this morning on their website for National League Rookie of the Year odds, and Jackson Merrill is basically neck and neck with him. As I'm looking right now, Paul Skenes minus 120 favorite to win the National League Rookie of the Year award, but Jackson Merrill is now minus 10. He's been rapidly climbing over the past couple weeks. I know just a couple weeks ago he was at plus 400 on DraftKings. Again, now he's minus money, and he's just been crushing it for a Padres team that's been red hot. And, it's just kind of one of those situations where you have two... they were both all-stars this year in Jackson Merrill and Paul Skenes. So, as much as I'm a huge Skenes guy, maybe a little bit disappointing if he's not going to end up winning the Rookie of the Year award. But I will so much rather take having an extra few years on his career as opposed to him trying to sort of tough it out through the end of August and through September, again, for a team that's not going to make the playoffs. And if he ends up losing it to a guy like Jackson Merrill, who, right now currently slashing 289, 320, 484, he's been incredible again for this Padres team that I think last night the Dodgers broadcast mentioned they're at 22 wins in 28 games or something like that. So that's not a bad candidate to at least lose your Rookie of the Year standing to in that case. But, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section. Let me know if you think I'm being soft in terms of this. I'm not trying to baby Paul Skenes. I'm just trying to do the risk to reward benefit here. And I just don't really see the argument why you continue to throw Paul Skenes out there all that much longer. With his start tomorrow, unless anything crazy goes down, he's going to hit 100 innings pitched on the season as a whole. Kind of feel like ending it in August, not a bad idea. But again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section as to how much longer Skenes should go. But that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for tuning into the GSMC Sports Podcast. Thank you to the GSMC Sports Network for allowing us to host this show. Remember to like, follow, subscribe wherever you keep up with us. Be sure to check us out on social media as well for more exclusive short content. And we will be back tomorrow, same time as always, at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We will see you then. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet. Damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go.